Mike, sit up. People can ask questions to Conan and Andy, and it's really weird that you what you said, Conan, was about criticism was amazing, and I hate to tie this back to Carrot Top, who had one of the most amazing moments on your show. If anyone remembers the Norm Macdonald Carrot Top. I was at a karaoke bar for my friend of mine's birthday party. Carrot Top was there. Scott Thompson. His real name is Scott Thompson. Always has great weed. And he does have
very plucked eyebrows.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
very
and honestly, the best weed on the planet. And a couple of little Silver Lake Trust Fund hipsters got into his face, and they were saying, "Hey, you were in that movie, Chairman of the Board," and Karen was, "Yeah, I was." And they go, "Yeah, we were watching that the other day. That movie sucked. Why were you in that?" And then Carrot Top said, "Why were you watching it?" and to me, that cleared up so much anxiety about my career. So we would like to open the floor to questions, Q&A. So I'm sure do we have the mic set up right there?
Yeah, we've got a mic.
If
you're on the floor, you can come up and line up here for a question. If you're in the balcony, you can go up and see Jen.
Just like a presidential debate. Nice!
Come on up.
The gentleman from North Dakota is recognized.
This is a question from the floor on your left.
Floor on the left. Here we go.
This is the gentleman from North Dakota.
Nice.
First of all, Carrot Top is one of my favorite comedians.
That's great, leave.
I'd like to know your inspiration for this. You've done it several times.
Popeye, 1930s cartoon.
Or the Lollipop Guild, too.
It's Lollipop Guild, but it's also, my favorite thing ever is my dad took me to see, he used to take me to see old-time comedy when it was played in revival houses, and that really inspired me. Marx Brothers, W.C. Fields, Charlie Chaplin, and then they would always show Popeye in the beginning, and they were the Fleischer Brothers cartoons from the 30s, and they're hilarious. And, you know, your inspiration can come from everywhere, but I just love that Popeye's constantly, he's walking around and he's constantly muttering bullshit. There's my wife right there. Hi, honey. My wife's there, and she will tell you in life, when we went on our first date, we got in the cab. The cab driver was like, "Where are you going?" And Liza said, "Well, we're going to Midtown." I was like, "Yeah, that's it. You're going to get it." And Liza didn't know me that well, and she thought, "This guy's crazy." But I took my inspiration from, he's always moving, and he's always muttering, and then he goes like this if something goes well. And I think more of my inspiration has come from cartoon characters, whether they're from Warner Brothers or Popeye. I was just always inspired by animation. It's probably why I went to The Simpsons in the early days. I think of myself as a cartoon character. I really do. I don't think of myself as a flesh and blood person. I mean, it's why the hair is exaggerated and the body's freaky and the movements are crazy. I've always thought of myself as a cartoon character.
That's really sweet. By the way,
What is your name? Okay, well, my wife's totally cock-blocked me tonight. No, don't do that. What am I supposed to do with you here? That's actually an idea I had for a sketch a couple of months ago, which is a guy who yells at his pregnant wife for cock-blocking him. I'm never gonna get laid. I was telling my wife about it, but just a guy he's like talking to a girl and she's very attractive and it's really going well, and then his pregnant wife comes up and says, "We should go, the sitter's calling," and he's like, "You totally cock-blocked me!" Thanks a lot, honey.
That is so brilliant. By the way, any Conan influence questions, they're all pre-steam powered.
We have a question up in the balcony.
Oh,
who are we?
Mr. Wilkes Booth, what is your question?
6 7 So this might border on a Chris Farley interview from Saturday Night Live.
What is your name, sir?
Dan.
Hi, Dan Conan, that's Andy, and this is Patton.
Hello.
Let's try and keep this as normal as possible.
So one of my favorite half hours of all time is the Simpsons monorail episode, which I understand. Or at least partially responsible for. I just wondered if you could talk about.
Partially? I wrote the fucking thing!
Hang on, sir, hang on. Say partially responsible for it again.
At least partially responsible for.
We're all putting that together just a little too late. Oh, never.
Can I say James Lipton does not provide that service? That's Patton Oswalt. That's a service you get from nobody else. So, what's the question?
Just talk, if you could just tell us about your process writing that or that time in your career, anything you wrote.
I was living in Los Angeles. The year was 1885. No, I was living in LA. I left Saturday Night Live in 1991. I moved back to Los Angeles to take a job at The Simpsons. And I was working there, and they said, would you, James L. Brooks is coming, and everyone has to pitch new story ideas to James L. Brooks, and I shit my pants. I'm not kidding, I was so scared. And I had not written in that format before, I'd only written sketches. So I went into my crazy place, which Andy can probably tell you about, where I just get very nervous and neurotic and crazy, and I went to my apartment on Weatherly in Los Angeles, and I...
Weatherly? Really?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Is that where you were raped?
No, it was gentle, and Mr. Anker was very funny.
My point is this, and I don't want anyone, any news service that's here to take away the Paul Anker rape. That would be a miscarriage of justice. I got really nervous. I prepared a bunch of ideas, and then I had one idea that was the weirdest idea. I pitched my other ideas, and they liked them, and they said, "Do you have anything else?" And James L. Brooks was there, and he was laughing, and it was at a hotel in Century City. And I had an idea. I had grown up in the 70s, so I had watched The Poseidon Adventure and all these Irwin Allen disaster films. So I had this idea of, what if we did a parody of an Irwin Allen disaster film where the Simpsons are in 3 acts, and the first act is the town comes into a windfall of money. And at the end of the first act, they have to decide what to do with the money, and Marge is sensible, and she wants to fix the potholes on Main Street, but then a confidence man shows up, played brilliantly by Phil Hartman, who I worked with. Lyle Langley, and he says, "I'll sell you a monorail," which the town doesn't need at all. And I was just intrigued by the idea of monorails. I've always been intrigued by the ideas of late 50s, early 60s modernism that goes nowhere. And I just happened to be driving on Pico Boulevard in Los Angeles, and I saw a sign for monorail. And I don't know what it was, and it just got me thinking about monorail. Yeah, it was probably Disneyland, I don't know, and I got intrigued by it, so I wrote this script where Act 1 is Marge wants to save the town by using this windfall they have from Mr. Burns for fixing potholes, but it ends with Lyle Langley showing up and doing a parody of The Music Man, which is another one of my obsessions. So Lyle Langley does this, like a Music Man song, and everyone joins in, and it ends with a big musical number. And then Act 2 is they build the monorail. Homer is, of course, the pilot of the monorail. And then it becomes a parody of an Irwin Allen thing, where it's supposed to be the beautiful, most best, like Towering Inferno, best thing ever, but of course it's cheaply built. And it goes out of control, and then it cuts loose from its moorings, and then Act 3 is the resolution of the whole thing. And what I remember most